Hello everyone, Grizzly Bear Games here. Today we're going to be making a tier list for all the maps in the Hitman World of Assassination trilogy. So that's Hitman 2016, Hitman 2, and finally Hitman 3. I'm going to include all the regular maps, no sniper maps, but I'm also going to include bonus maps. So it's a tier list, so it's 2021. I don't think I need to explain how a tier list works. The only thing is that the bonus maps, I'm just going to class them as either good bonus or bad bonus, because I don't think it's fair to compare them to the full-sized maps. So, nothing else to say there, so here we go. First map is Mendoza. This is from Hitman 3. When I first played this map, it was probably one of my favourite ones from Hitman 3, but as I've played it more, and I've played the other maps from Hitman 3 more, it's dropped down in the rankings a little bit. It's by no means a bad map. I can't think of any real faults with it. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of verticality to it. It's big enough. 2 targets is fine. There's no annoying bonus objectives you have to deal with. But just in comparison to the other maps, I just think it's worthy of a B tier. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just there's better maps out there. So I think B's pretty, a good ranking for this one. Next up is Haven Island. This is the final mission from Hitman 2. It came in the DLC. This is a pretty good map. When I first played this, I really enjoyed it, and I've played it quite a lot. But as you play the other maps and you get used to it, again, like Mendoza, it dropped slightly in my rankings. So I think B tier. I don't know, it's either A or B tier really. I'm swinging towards B tier because there's nothing wrong with the map. It's a great map, it's really beautiful to look at, but I think it just lacks that verticality of the other maps, which is something that I really enjoy. Being able to scale up the buildings and find all these different little entryways to get in somewhere. But it doesn't really have that. There's a little bit of it around the house, but it's only really 2 floors, so there's not much you can do there. But it's like Mendoza, nothing wrong with this map. It's not bad by any means. I just think it belongs in B tier. Next up is Dubai, the first map from Hitman 3. This is probably the map that I've played the most from Hitman 3 so far. Again, it's a really good map, so it's got that verticality that I really look for, especially once you open up the elevator shafts, because then you can use that to scale the building quite quickly, as well as using the outside areas. If you open the windows with your camera, and you can scale the outside, and once you open up the shortcuts, it makes it even easier to get around. It's a really good map, really good to look at. There's a lot going on. It's interesting enough. There's no annoying objectives that you have to go for. It's just 2 targets. One of them's up at the top floor, one of them walks around in the public area, which is a really good, the concept of the map's really nailed down. Having one guy, a dweller, I think they call them. One guy who's really, he's stuck somewhere. He doesn't move around too much, but you got to try and infiltrate his castle, if you will, and get to him. Whereas I think he's Marcus Stuyvesant, he's the wanderer, so that's the guy who walks around in the public areas, and you got to find a way to try and get him to one side so you can take him out. It's either an A or a B tier. I'm swinging towards B for this one as well. Again, nothing wrong with this map, it's just that there's some out that are just a little bit better, so I think B tier. So next up is House Built on Sand. This is one of the bonus missions from Hitman 2016. So it's going to be good bonus or bad bonus. I think this one definitely belongs in good bonus, because what I consider a good bonus map is something that takes the original map and we get to explore it in a way that we didn't really get to in the original. So in Marrakesh, the whole market area, it was just basically a thoroughfare to get from the consulate to the school. There wasn't much going on. I mean, you could get a few, uniforms, and you can get some stuff there, but in terms of the targets, they never went to this area at all. So I think this bonus map does add to something here because the map takes place in the entire market area. There's 2 targets and there's enough opportunities to take them out. But I think it definitely belongs in the good bonus ranking here. So the second one is Silver Tongue. This is the Miami bonus map. I'm unsure about this one, to be honest, because it is... Miami's such a huge map, but it makes use of like less than 5% of the actual space available. You're literally just hanging about the car park and that's it. So I'm tempted to put it in bad bonus, although in that small area there is a decent amount of opportunities to take out the target. But because it doesn't make good use of that area, it doesn't really expand on it in any way from the original map, I think I'm going to put this in bad bonus. So next up is Bangkok. This is a really funny map in my opinion. I really don't know my proper opinions on it. In many ways I don't like this map, but the concept of it, I think a hotel is the definitive area for a Hitman mission to take place in, because there's so many things that you can do in a hotel. But I'm not sure, it just feels like half of the hotel isn't really used. Unless you get Ken Morgan to go all the way up to the top floor, but even then it's very empty. There's a few cleaners, but if you get Ken to go up there, all those cleaners leave, so it's just literally you, him and his bodyguard. So, I don't know. Jordan Cross is also a pain in the arse to get to if you're trying to do it suit only. There's very little you can do. You can kill him with the birthday cake, or you can try and get up to the top floor, but you've got one way to do it pretty much, unless you try and blow him up through the floor or anything. I don't know. I think I'm going to put this in C tier. It's not a bad map, it's just, I don't know. Bangkok's a really funny one with me. Colorado's everyone's least favourite map, it seems, but I'm not sure which one I actually prefer more out of Bangkok and Colorado. So, Colorado's down there, so I guess we'll find out soon enough. But I think for now I'm just going to have to put Bangkok in C tier. So now we've got Hokkaido, the final mission from Hitman 2016. This is obvious to me, it goes in S tier. When I first played Hokkaido a few years ago, when I first played the game, I really didn't like it. I think the idea of what uniform you wear opens certain doors. I didn't like that idea, because I thought it'd make, to do it suit only really difficult, or it'd limit you where you can actually go and things like that. But as I played it a little bit more, I realised that little gimmick really doesn't impact the map that much. Obviously, you can't get through certain doors if you're wearing your default uniform, but there's plenty of ways around it, and it really taught me that, idea of Hitman, where it doesn't have to be just go through a door. There's plenty of ways to get around. There's almost always, every single room in the game, there is another way to get in it somehow, whether it's by climbing up, the drain pipes and getting through windows, or dropping down from somewhere. So Hokkaido really taught me how to be better at the game in a way, and obviously you got to take into account how great this map looks. So you got the Japanese spa area, which is really nice and it's really tranquil and peaceful, and then you got the ultra sterile futuristic hospital area. So yeah, Hokkaido, I don't think many people would argue about putting Hokkaido in S tier either. So yeah, definitively that's an S tier map. Next up is Isle of Sgail. This is another really funny map. In many ways, in terms of the actual design of Isle of Sgail, such as how, the verticality of it, being able to climb up all those drain pipes and ledges, and there's all those open windows that you can climb through to scale the big main, part of the castle. But I don't know what it is about this map that I don't like. I think it's just the sort of paint job, if you will. So I don't know if it's because it takes place at night, so it's really dark, and it's the whole medieval castle vibe. Although, funnily enough, I think I quite like that vibe, but I just don't think it works that well in a Hitman game I'm not sure. It's real. I don't. It's hard for me to put to words why I don't like this map, but there are many things about this map that I do like. So it's by no means a C or D tier. It's not my favourite map, but I appreciate that it does have many good aspects to it. And I think that if it just had a different sort of... If it could take literally the exact map, set it somewhere else, so the layout's the exact same, and it'd probably be S tier. But I don't know. In terms of design, I think I'll put it in A tier. And although I'm not keen on the map, I understand how great it is, but obviously I don't know if I'm going to rank these in terms of the actual ranking that they're on, but it'd probably be a low A tier in my opinion. That's being generous. Otherwise it'd just be a high B. So next is Holiday Hoarders. I remember barely anything about this. I think I played it like once or twice. I remember it's just basically a massive gimmick. I don't have anything to say about it other than just this bad bonus because I don't remember anything about it. So there you go. Next up is New York. I really like this map. It's quite small when you think about it, especially considering it only has one target. But it's a pretty good map in terms of layout because it is essentially just one big castle, because you've got your dweller all the way up at the top. Athena, I think her name is. But it's just a matter of how you get there. Although there is only... You can sort of go like the left or the right route. But I don't know, in terms of being able to get up there is quite interesting. And although it is a small map, it does make really good use of it. On top of that, of the maps that have bonus objectives, this one is actually one of the better ones. So in terms of bonus objectives, I mean things like taking out the virus in Sapienza or finding the clues in Whittleton Creek. But this one, it doesn't impact it too much because it is quite easy to do. Funnily enough, breaking into a bank vault isn't actually that hard in this game. So yeah, although it does only have one target, I think it is because it is a DLC mission, but it's big enough that it warrants one target. I think if it had two targets, it'd just be struggling a little bit what to do with them. I suppose you could make the one guy, one of the guys who has the access or whatever you need to get into, as an alternative of breaking into the bank vault. I think if you made him a target, it wouldn't be too bad because he does walk around quite a bit. But yeah, I think it belongs in A tier, definitely. It is a really good map. It's on the small side, but that's no fault of it because it does it really well. So yeah, A tier for New York. Just gonna have a quick drink before I keep going on. I'm talking really fast. So next up is Berlin. Another funny one where my opinion on this changed drastically. When I first played this map, I hated it. I don't know, I think it was the idea of only not having actual targets. Well, you just got to kill 5 of the 10 different people, and you got to figure out who it is and things like that, and then realising that it's the same every time. I'd much rather just have a normal, 2 to 3 targets, take them out, and then you're done. That's just the way I like it. But as I played Berlin more, the map itself is really good in terms of the areas, and there's a lot of verticality to this map, especially like breaking into the biker area or getting down to the stage with a big main dance floor in the basement. So yeah, the map itself is really good, but as I played it more, and I think once you unlock the starting location at the radio tower, if you start there, all the targets are marked on your map. So if you use your instinct, you can see the little red people through the walls. So that made it a lot better because it means you don't have to mess about trying to find the targets. Like, although you can memorise it, I did memorise it before I even got to that mastery level, where most of them were. But this, I don't know, it just, as you unlocked that radio tower, funnily enough, unlocking a starting location is what made this map really good. because it just allows you to go in, and you can also start taking your equipment in at that point, not just, I think when you first started you can only take your gun. But yeah, so Berlin's definitely an A tier for me. I think if this map had, just for standard 2 to 3 targets, regular format that, IO Interactive have got down to a T right now, it'd be S tier. But I think I'm still not 100% on the 10 potential targets, take out at least 5 of them. So I think it is A tier. I don't know. I'd understand why people would put it in S tier, but for me, I'm just going to put it as high A tier, I think. New York's better than Sgail as well. So yeah, high A tier for Berlin, definitely. Next up is Carpathian Mountains, which is D tier. I don't know, I think a train's an interesting location for a Hitman map, but once you actually get on it, you realise that it's just literally point A to point B. There's not much room to sneak about, so doing this suit only, there's only literally, especially as you get to that, I think it's like the second to last carriage, there's only one way of doing it. I don't know, I'm not keen on this map. It's quite short, but when you play it, it just feels long, and especially because you're just going from one train carriage to the next, it just feels repetitive, and it just doesn't really work that well in a Hitman game, I don't think. So I'm putting it as D tier. Next up is Chongqing. I'm not sure how you say it. This map, it's really good, I think, in many ways. It's really atmospheric. I love the whole like neon city vibe that it's got going on at night. But the area where Hush is, in the like abandoned apartment, that's really good. It has that verticality that I keep banging on about, that I love, of all the different ways of getting into the building, getting out of the building, and how you can bypass areas and get past guards. That's all great, and it's the areas that don't actually have the targets, such as like the restaurant and the little apartment building that isn't owned by Hush. That's all fine, but the lab area, I'm not 100% keen on it. I think I'm glad that they gave the ability to sneak through the vents, open it up with either a screwdriver or hacking it with your camera, but I don't know. When it comes to any like lab areas in video games, I'm rarely ever keen on them. I'm not sure why, but it could be a lot worse for lab area. It's not bad. It's just the rest of the map's better, and I think if they focused, say, on making more areas like where Hush's apartments are, where he does his experiments, if there was more areas like that, then this map would potentially be S tier. But because it's got that big underground lab where there's, it limits how you can move about, especially if you're doing it suit only, because you've got to use the vents, because you just can't get past the guards unless you really mess about with distractions and knocking people out. So yeah, I think A tier's, good ranking for it. I'd say New York's slightly better, but Chongqing, it's a good map. I'm not faulting it. It's just, there's, like I've said a few times before, there's just some better maps out there, such as Berlin, New York, or Hokkaido. The next map we've got is Whittleton Creek. This is a funny one. The concept of it's really good. I love the idea of like the sleepy, nice, peaceful upper middle class suburbs that it's got going for it. With a dark undertones. That's really good, and it looks great. I really love the appearance of this map. All the maps look great. That goes without saying. But I don't know. I think it's you can't go in all the houses, and when you think about it, this map's quite small in terms of how quickly you can get around it, because you can just go out on the streets and that's fine. You can do that in your suit without any issues. But the houses are literally just copy pasted. We've got different designs on the inside and things like that, but they're all copy pasted, and you can't even go in all of them, which is kind of annoying. So if you just had like, say even 2 layouts, because they all have the same layout, and although the rooms, they all like be decorated differently and furnished differently. If they had that, so if you had just a second default layout for the houses, it'd really improve it and just give it a bit of variety. And also it's got a really annoying secondary objective, and if the clues, if you only had to do that on your first time, fair enough, and then any subsequent playthroughs you just had to take out the 2 targets. But no, every single time you got to get the 3 clues, and that's a pain in the arse. It's not that it's difficult, it just feels like it's just padding out the mission a bit, especially because you realise just how quickly you can get around. And Nolan Cassidy, the guy that walks around a bit, his path is really short unless you make him going into the garden. It's a really good looking map, and I do love the concept of it, but I think I'm going to put it in B tier. A low B tier, I think that's a good ranking for it. Excuse me. Next up we have got the author, I think this one's called. I'm going to put this in bad bonus. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe I just need to play it a little bit more. But the bonus missions are obviously quite short, and compared to the other missions, they're very limited in terms of opportunities that present themselves. I remember the guy in the red uniform, don't remember the name. For me, on my most recent playthrough, he never left his apartment. Like, he just walked from one room to another, so it was just kill him, with fibre wire or poison, whatever. I think you could poison his food. I don't know. And then there's the guy in the church who just does a small, lap around the church. I think it's a bad bonus mission. It's not like terrible by any means. It's just compared to obviously the main maps, which I don't think it's fair to compare it to. But even the bonus maps, there's just better ones out there. So I'm going to put it in bad bonus. Next one is Colorado, the controversial map of the game. Obviously, it's not S tier. Obviously, I understand everyone's grievance with this map, but it's just, is it C or D? That's the thing. So when I first played this map, I realised this isn't a good Hitman map. It's, in terms of what he's going for, I appreciate. In terms of just, it's a fully hostile environment. Like, your suit is, I don't think there's a single safe area that you can go in this map in just your suit, which is fine for a stealth game, but not a Hitman game, because a Hitman game benefits from the hiding in plain sight mentality of, you can walk around, a portion of the map in your suit and just, take your time, and there's no worries about guards or anything. You can just walk around, explore a little bit, find things, find clues, and make an idea of how you want to go about it. But Colorado doesn't have that at all. So yeah, it's a bad Hitman map, but in terms of what it does, and I appreciate it. And there's 4 targets, and I think it probably would have benefited from just only having 3. Especially, for example, I think it's Maya Pavati, the one that you can drop the hay bale on. Like, hers is, she has a very short path, and she's just pointless to an extent. So, I don't know. Is it better than Bangkok? That's the main question I have. I'm tempted to say Bangkok is better, just because Bangkok does abide by the standard Hitman formula, of being able to walk around in your suit and the disguises and things like that. Whereas in Colorado, you can do it suit only. I've got a video of me doing it silent assassin suit only, no knockouts on master difficulty. But humble brag right there. I don't know. I think I'll put it in C tier, below Bangkok, but I don't know. The map's also really flat, which is partially also what, it doesn't score many good points on, because I think if it kept with the hostile environment, the entire map's hostile, but it was a lot more built up, like there was more houses that you could go into, or like the main house where Sean hangs out is like 3 floors. I'd say it could potentially be B tier, but because it is flat, with only really the area around the house, is really a good part of the map in many ways. I'm just going to put it bottom C tier. I'd still say it's better than Carpathian Mountains, but Carpathian Mountains almost feels like a bonus map in a way, but I don't class it as one, so yeah, C tier. Next up, Dartmoor. This is arguably my favourite map in terms of design from Hitman 3. In terms of verticality, it's brilliant. There's that many ways to get around that house, without actually even going inside it. You can climb the drain pipes and windows, get up the balconies, once you've opened up the escape ladders. It's a great map. The garden's a little bit wasted. I mean, you can take the target. There's only one target, and you can take him down to the garden or to the little graveyard area. I think what they were going with this map is the murder mystery story of it, where that almost takes the role of a second target. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because it is actually a rather small map when you think about it. But if it had 2 targets, I'd be interested to see how they went about doing that. But because the murder mystery objective is it's the most lengthy mission story of any of the maps, I'd say. It almost feels like that takes, part of a second potential target. But obviously you don't have to do the murder mystery at all. There's nothing that forces you to do it. So I think I'd say if it had 2 targets, I'd put it in S tier for definite. But because it only has that 1 target, I'm tempted to just put it in A. I don't know. It's one or the other. You could literally ask me. I could put it in A tier today, and tomorrow I'd say it's S tier. So I'm going to put it top of A tier. I mean, in terms of Berlin, they're both great maps, but at least, I don't know, top of A tier. I'll change my mind tomorrow. Next up is Patient Zero. I'd say this is a good bonus mission just because it does something really different. I mean, it changes the map a little bit in terms of a hospital area, like where Sodas was getting like his operation done. That room's sort of like a little test facility now. So it changes the map slightly, and it's got all that weird, as you can see from the picture, it's got like a really purpley hue to it, which is nice. And obviously then if the virus gets out, it can get to the point where every NPC on the map is a target, which is something different. So if you can either stop the virus getting out, I think there's like one nurse or something that, spreads it to everyone inadvertently. Yeah, I'm going to call it a good bonus just because it does something different. Yeah, if it was an actual main proper map, it'd be D tier. But because it is just a bonus mission, I do like how it changes the formula a little bit. So good bonus. Excuse me. Next up is Landslide, the bonus mission from Sapienza. I think this is potentially my favourite bonus mission. It's really good. I like Sapienza at evening. It looks really pretty and exactly what I'd think of like a little Italian town in terms of the the sun's just starting to set. So it looks really atmospheric, and it's got the nice music playing, and it changes the map. So the area around the beach has got it's like a little campaign rally, except it's not a Trump rally. Let's just say that. But it's it changes the map. It's got the little band stage playing, and then the target Abbiati, I think his name is. He goes up into the town hall, which is an area of Sapienza that didn't really get used that much in the original, but here I do quite enjoy it. So I'd say Landslide is definitely a good bonus. There's enough going on, and it changes enough from the base map to definitely land it in good bonus. Next up is A Bitter Pill. This map uses sort of like the other one, the one that, because this and Silver Tongue, follow on from each other. Silver Tongue again uses like 5% of the map, and so does a Bitter Pill. But I'd say a Bitter Pill does it slightly better because it does all. The target is only ever in the house, but it does enough with that house to make it interesting. So it's a small area, but it does just enough. So I'm gonna put it in good bonus. I'd say it's probably the worst of the good bonus, but good bonus nonetheless. Next up is Hawke's Bay. Again, this is a weird one. I don't know whether or not to class this as like a bonus or not, because it is quite short, but I don't know, it's got enough going on that I'd say worthy of the main maps, although it is the smallest by far. I'm going to put it in C tier because obviously although it's small and compact, there is enough going on. There's enough going on, and it's really atmospheric, and I like the whole like really modern mansion on the beach at night. It looks really good, and I like the sneaking around. So once you break into it, the house is empty, but then once you go on the laptop, people come in. So it's sneaking about, and then watching the targets is quite linear, but watching the targets go about their like evening routine. She goes on the phone, and then she goes and she's having a shower whilst talking to I think it's a boyfriend or something, before finally going to bed. So it's either taking her out before she even goes upstairs. You could poison a drink or something, but then as she goes upstairs and goes through her evening routine, you can take her out, and then obviously she goes to bed. So then that's your definitive time to take out the target is when they're literally asleep. Or you could, I think if you scare her and she goes to a panic room, but you can break the vent on the roof and she flees from a panic room, she runs out to the ocean and she'll just like walk in and kill herself. Hawke's Bay, it's a good map. It's tiny, but it's good at what it does, I think. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Next up is, I think his one is called The Source. It's a bad bonus one, I know that for definite. There's very little to do in terms of assassinating the target. I think you can set him on fire, but there's just not much going on. It does change the map enough, that's good, but I don't know what it does with the map. It takes an already very mediocre map and gives you a very mediocre bonus mission, so I don't know, it's a bad bonus in my opinion. Next up is Illusions of Grandeur, I think this is called. It takes an area of Mumbai where you don't spend too much time in the main mission, but it doesn't really change it that much. It's just the cycles. It's repetitive, but it takes too long as well for the guy to get somebody to go upstairs, steal the money, then he goes and walks into one or two of the apartments before going and doing the whole thing again. So his cycle's really long in a way because it's just how long it takes, but it's also nothing much going on with it. I think I'm going to call it a bad bonus mission. If he went out of the apartment, if he just did one more thing, I'd call it good, but just because of how long it takes to get around, I'm going to call it bad. Next up is Miami. This is an S tier. I'm not going to debate that too much. It's one of the biggest maps in the game. There's so much going on. Not a single area feels really wasted in any way. Despite how big it is, the convention centre where Robert Knox is could be its own map. Essentially, it's that big. I mean, you got everything else around it. It's got everything right, so it's big, but it's not too hard to get around. That verticality, especially in the convention centre, being able to get around that, using the lift shaft and things, and the walkway outside. It's an S tier. I don't think, like Hokkaido, I think many people class this as S tier as well. So I'm not being too original there, but yeah, Miami's just a great map. I'd say it's maybe better than Hokkaido just because of how, not that being a big map, it makes it better, but because of the size of it and how well it uses that size, I'd say it's slightly better than Hokkaido. But I don't know. If someone said Hokkaido was better than Miami, I wouldn't argue with them too much. So next is Mumbai. I don't think this map gets enough love. I think I'm probably going to put it in S tier. I think the main problem people have with it is the maelstrom, because you don't know who it is. But if you don't like that aspect of it, there's a really easy way to figure out who it is. If you just go and raise the flag up on the hill and poison the drink and then just walk away and it's done. But some people might not like that because they feel like it's a free target map and they're being robbed of one of the targets. But if you want to, you can. There's many other ways to figure out who it is. So I do understand why people don't like the maelstrom, but I don't know. I think it's got the best target of all the games is Dawood Rangan by a long shot. So it's got him, and his tower where he hangs out is really good as well. It's got that verticality of getting inside of it. There's enough going on. There's all the different outfits that are used, and each floor feels different. So that area is great, and then it's got the train yard where Vanya is. It's not as good as the tower, but still it's a really great area. It's got enough going on. It's quite unique. I like the overgrown Shangri-La kind of vibe it's going on. So yeah, I'm going to call Mumbai an S tier. One other slight problem is in the market area, like the really narrow alleys and things. There are the guards walk about who can spot you. Even though it's a public area, if you're wearing just your suit, the guards can still spot you because they're looking out for an assassin. I think these are the only people in the entire world who would be suspicious of Agent 47, which is quite funny. So yeah, I understand, why people might not want it in S tier, but to me, I just think Mumbai is a really, really good map. Next up is Marrakesh. Again, this is a map that people aren't that keen on. It don't get anywhere near as much hate as Colorado does. I think I'd put it in low B tier because of that market area. If it had 3 targets and one of them was in the market area, I'd put it in A. It'd definitely be a high A tier. But because that market area is such a big place but it's not really used, I'm going to put it in B. The school area is not that great, but the consulate, I really like the consulate, even though it's actually quite hard to get around, even with a disguise on, because there's that many enforcers in it. But it does look really great, and it does make it even harder to get around, funnily enough, because there isn't really any other way. You've got to walk around it in some way. You can't sneak outside and go climb through windows and things. Yeah, I think B tier's a good one for Marrakesh, so yeah, I'm going to leave it in B. Next up is Embrace of the Serpent. Bad bonus. Santa Fortuna, I'll talk about it a lot more when I get to it in a minute, but it just feels like there's so much going on, and it takes a little area of the map, which I think if the entire map was let's say the entire map was a jungle, that probably won't be too bad, but it just takes this tiny area, and the target, I haven't played this map that much, but it feels like he only ever walks about in the jungle area, which is quite small, so the opportunities to take him out are quite limited. Yeah, I'm just going to call it bad bonus. Paris, is definitely A or S. I think out of every single map there is, I'd say Paris is the one that I've played the most. I've done pretty much everything you can possibly do in Paris, I think, but I don't know if that sours me on it a little bit just because of how much I've played it. It feels like I've done everything, so I think I'm going to put it in high A. This is controversial, but I'd say Berlin's actually better. Not Berlin, sorry, Dartmoor. Because although it does everything great and it's the best way, it's the first map I'd ever show anybody. if we were going to play this game, I'd say first, well, it is the first real map anyway, but Paris is the map to play straight away because it just teaches you things really well. You know, the tutorial's really good at showing you things, but once you actually get properly into the game, Paris just shows you everything, and there's no annoying gimmicks to it. And it's just really good of showing you. You got the Wanderer, Victor, and then you got the Dweller, Dahlia. So yeah, you got it just shows you the Hitman format that we were going for with this trilogy, and it just shows you it perfectly. So I'm going to put it in high A. I don't know, Dartmoor, it just does things for me that Paris doesn't. Paris, I can't fault it, but I don't know, I just slightly prefer Dartmoor. So I know that's probably going to piss a few people off because people really like Paris, but just wait until you see what I have to say about Sapienza. Santa Fortuna, this is B tier. I won't call it C because it does have enough going on, but in many ways that is its issue. It does have too much going on. The map, I'm pretty sure this is probably the biggest map of all of the maps, but not in a good way because it takes forever to get around it, and it's quite flat when you think about it. So for example, you've got the town, the construction area, the caves, the mansion, the little jungle area, you've got the coca fields. There's so much going on, and if you want to get from where I can't remember her name, the woman in the town, if you want to get from her, say, down into the caves, you know, where the submarine is, it takes ages, especially if you have to mess about getting different disguises and things like that, because there isn't always good ways to get around. Excuse me. So, yeah, I'm going to call it B tier. I think if it cut a little bit of the map away and be instead added to the mansion where Rico is, it'd be A tier. But no, for now I'm just going to call it B. Sapienza. I know everyone puts Sapienza in S tier, and it's by no means a bad map, and this is, you know, where people are going to start leaving dislikes, but I don't know, it just feels like the map takes place, it's such a huge map, but they only use like 20% of it. And I know that it does have 3 bonus missions that take advantage of the rest of it. But in terms of the actual main map itself, which is what I'm judging it as, although the house, you have a big house, is great, it's really good to get around, I think. I don't know. I think as well what annoys me is the bonus objective to get rid of the virus. Although once you got the EMP charge, you just go down in to get to the from the observatory, go down the stairs, you know, open that door with the card or blow it up or whatever, throw it over the railing and detonate the charge, and you've destroyed the virus. It's that easy now, but still, it's just one of those little chores that you've got to do every time. I think if it was just 2 targets, it'd improve it a bit. Or if it had 3 targets and 1 target was walking around the town. If that was the case, 2 targets, you know, so you got Francesca and Caruso, and then you got a 3rd target in the town, it'd be S tier. But I'm just going to call it middle A tier. Yeah, so I don't know. I'd say that Berlin's better in terms of the actual map layout, even though it's got a gimmick that I'm not 100% keen on. But, you know, Sapienza, just saying on the record, it is not a bad map. It just, I don't know, it's just not my favourite. So, yeah, I'm going to put it in A tier. Next up, we've got the Icon. This is a good bonus, I think. It does plenty to change the map. It takes a relatively small area of Sapienza, just like the main square, but it does so much to change it. And it makes it feel a lot bigger. You know, if you go into regular Sapienza and run around the square, it don't feel that big, but what Icon does with it, it makes it feel twice as big. It and there's enough opportunity. It's got just the one target, but there's enough going on with him. There's plenty of opportunities to take him out. He's definitively a good bonus map. So finally, last but not least, we have got the final test, which is the tutorial in the aircraft hangar. I was unsure whether or not to put this in because it is just a tutorial level. I decided not to put the boat on because of just how small it is and how linear it is. But with this map, it does feel like it's definitely, it's got more than bonus missions in many ways, because there is a lot of ways to take out just for one target. But it's really, really good at showing you how this game is going to work. So you got like the linear one with the boat, and then you got this, which lets you be a bit more creative. And you got Paris, which really shows you the formula. So in terms of tutorials, this game does it really well, and you don't really see tutorials in games anymore. So yeah, it's definitely a good bonus. I'd potentially say it's the best, maybe. So yeah, in terms of actual rankings of these tiers, I'd say it's, maybe put that one there. Yeah, that's, although it's small, it's better than Colorado. I'd say that's about right, I think, in terms of how good or bad they are. So yeah, that's my tier list for Hitman 1, 2 and 3, the World of Assassination trilogy. I've recorded this all in one big take, so my voice hurts now. So yeah, that's my tier list. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I really enjoyed making this. I've considered making tier lists for other things. About a year ago, it became like a really massive trend on YouTube, and I think it is a really good format just to get your views down and give it a bit of that visual flair of, you know, what you're trying to say. And although it does simplify things a bit, it's a really interesting video style. So hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, leave a like and subscribe. Hopefully I'll see you next time for the next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.